All right, Dave. So it's been a while since we both did our TED Talks within like a week of each other. And, your big hot take on that TED Talk is that people are not bad with money, which I think is absolutely ridiculous because I work with lots of people that are terrible with money. And you and I have had so much fun kind of talking about this. So break it down for me, my friend. Why are people not bad with money?
People are not bad with money because I believe everybody has the power within them to actually have peace, contentment, purpose, and intentionality with their money. And what they're focused on right now, and all the language and all the tips and tricks that you hear online focuses on the numbers aspect. But what's being neglected in today's conversation is the emotion and the behavior that's actually driving those actions,
Okay.
right? So it's really important to understand that. And once you understand that, I believe every single person on this earth can be good with money.
Ooh, okay. There it is. Let's go. Let's get into it. So, walk me through this. I am somebody I am making, because I think you and I both know from the people that we've worked with, whether or not you are managing your money well, spending it well, doing all that, it really doesn't have that much to do with how much you make. So we know plenty of people that are making six figures, millionaires even, and they're terrible with how they're utilizing your money. So, but let's just, for the sake of the argument, go with I'm making $100,000 a year, you know, just continually stuck in a debt spiral. Maybe I get a little bit ahead. I go and spend it if I get a big paycheck or something, whatever the case is. Where do I start? Like, I hop on this podcast. I hear this crazy guy say that I'm not bad with money, even though I feel like I am. Uh, where do I start?
I think it's really important to do the work of why.
Okay.
Why? Like when you take a look at your actions, and so let's say your spending behavior or your savings behavior, or if a bunch of money landed in your bank account, how would you feel? If for some crazy instance like um, uh, $2 million landed in your account because you won the lottery, how would you feel about that?
Hmm.
And why do you feel that way? And so I think the work of why, which could be spliced in a lot of different ways, needs to be done in order for you to understand the primary driver behind why you do what you do, and why you spend the way you do, why you save the way you do, and why you feel the way you do. I think it's really important to do that. And so many of those drivers are driven by the downstairs part of your brain, which is all formed and shaped in the early part of your life. And so, as human beings, that's all taking place. It's the reptilian part of your brain, and all that's formed, like I said, in the early part of your life, and it has nothing to do with your income level, how smart you are, but it's all driven by subconscious uh, reactions, reactors that are just like firing off all the time. And so that's what's really causing it. So you have to like do the work of why. And for me, it's like, I mean, I know people that make 50,000 bucks a year that are really good and really healthy in their emotional state when it comes to their money. But there are people that are making $1 million that are not doing so well, right? And nothing.
So when you're coaching somebody like me, how walk me through this process. Give me some questions that I can start asking myself very like deliberately, so to really start doing a lot of that inner work to understand what these emotions are, because obviously, we, deal with stress, we deal with shame, we deal with guilt, through things, we even have fun terms for them in culture like retail therapy. Um, to where you just go, buy your way out of a bad feeling, type of thing. But it's like you're saying, that's a bad financial decision that is rooted in an emotion. So if every single time I'm just feeling bad about myself, or, I took an L in life, whatever the case may be, my solution is to go spend money in order to make myself feel good on whatever the thing is, it really doesn't matter at that point. what kind of questions would you ask me to help me discover what's really going on there?
Before I dive into the questions aspect, I think really good coaching. So, really good coaching these days typically focuses on the present,
Okay.
and then you're looking forward to the future, right?
Hmm.
So present day is point A, future point is point B, to help the person go from point A to point B.
Okay.
Really good therapy, traditional therapy focuses on the past, tends to dwell on the past and helps you kind of uncover some of those things. I believe really good coaching, especially on the one-on-one level, you need to go backward a little bit and then look forward.
Totally agree
the
with you.
the
Yeah.
visual that I give people is it. I'm about to go on a cruise next month, but imagine like I'm on a cruise ship, and the cruise is trying to get to the shore, right?
Mm.
Right, and it's trying to get there, but what's holding it back is the anchor that is uh, um, hanging
On the
off
ocean floor.
on the ocean floor on the other side of the boat, right, on the other side of the
Okay.
cruise ship. And it's trying to get there and you can't see it. The cruise ship is massive and the anchor is like this big, right?
Mm.
And you have to identify what that anchor is, because once you name what's happening there, I'm not saying you should go back there and guilt yourself or blame somebody or whatever it is, but it's to answer your question. One of the first things that I do, especially when it comes to one-on-one money coaching, and I got 3 executives that I'm working with right now on a
Okay.
one-on-one level. It's not even advertised. It's all word of mouth and referral and invitation only based. But I think it's really important to dig into your money story and uncover some of the patterns and themes that have happened since in your history, right?
Okay.
So you have adolescence, childhood, adolescence, young adult, adulthood, right? So there's like 4 main stages in life,
All right.
and be able to ask questions like, what are some of the money talks that you've had on the at the dinner table?
Mm.
What are
Or the
some
lack
things that you,
thereof.
or lack thereof? And that's a very basic question. It's not the most important question, but
Hmm.
like, what are some of the behaviors that you've seen your mom and your dad do when it
Mm.
came to money and not money? Were
And
they
what?
reactive?
How would
Were
you
they
break down
reactive?
the?
Were they reactive versus responsive? So once you're able to like go through that story and be able to dig deep, then you could find patterns and themes when it comes to the emotional side of things, the relational side of things, the behavioral side of things, and maybe even like how you see the world. So when
Okay.
you see all these things, you're able to understand better like why those patterns and habits are present in your life now.
The idea of a money story is really interesting. And, we're humans. We learn best when we hear stories. You hear a lot of this
Hmm.
in sales, right? You hear a lot of this in the history books. So much of our, human history was not even passed down written. It was passed down orally because stories is how we learn. So,
Yep.
so the concept of a money story is really interesting. Can you give me some examples that you either had with clients or, yourself of a little bit of what that looked like? Like, guide me into what I should be writing this money story about. What does it look like?
When it comes to writing your money story, it is uh, like you want to be able to have um, obviously a beginning, middle, current, and future. But
Okay.
it's really important for people to really tie some of these past events and go, why did that happen, and what are some of the things that came from that? So let
Mm.
me tell you a quick story. Let me tell you a quick story. So a long time ago, I had a client that refused to look at their bank accounts and bank statements and their spending habits and all that stuff. Just refused to look at it. And so that behavior didn't just start when he was 30 years old. That behavior started way from when he was younger. And so digging into his past and kind of looking at the patterns and themes that happened, we were able to identify that the fear behind his reluctance to look actually came from his mom.
Mm. Okay.
And and so I asked him, like, tell me about your mom, and like, tell me about some of the things that she was going through when she was raising you. And she had a very unstable marriage. Husband was in and out of the house. Her job was unstable, right? She had a job, she didn't have a job, she was looking for a job, in and out all the time. And
Hmm.
her housing situation was also very unstable, right? She was renting, wasn't renting, got kicked out, evicted, found a place, was living on the streets, just back and forth, all while raising this 30-year-old kid. Not sorry, now 30-year-old kid, not a 30-year-old kid.
Not 30-year-old then. Yeah, no, I get it.
So I could put some pieces together, but it's more powerful if the person I'm asking the questions of why, like, tell me more about this. I, I have to be very curious, right?
Hmm.
So, so why do you think your mom was that way? Uh, do you think the fear that you have now is similar to some of the fear that somebody else had? Oh, it's my mom. Oh, tell me about your mom. Okay, well, tell me about your life now. I have a really good church community. I have a pension from the army. I have a really stable job, and I'm rapidly climbing up the ladder there. And I own a house. And so I go, is that similar or different than what your mom experienced? Oh, it's vastly different. And so, from his own realization of like, oh my gosh, once he was able to name what his emotion was and go,
Mm.
goodness, that's what's happening. When you name it, I don't know why this happens. It's a secret formula that God put together. But when you name something like that, you give it less power.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
and over time, he was able to release the grip that had a hold on him. And so,
Mm.
so moving forward, he was able to then what? Look at his bank account, look at his spending without fear of shame and guilt, and maybe even the unknown that his mom was facing, that that he adopted from her, right?
Okay.
And
Oh,
so
that's
for me,
powerful.
there's no like set like templatized question that I ask, but it's more like diving into your story and go, what's going on here, and why do you think
Yeah.
it's happening, and helping them connect the dots.
I
That's
think
at the
that's a,
one-on-one that's at the one-on-one level. And
yeah.
for me, like in order to change your behavior, you have to be able to look back a little bit. You have to. Like
Yeah.
a I'm not a psychotherapist or anything like that, but you have to be able to look back a little bit and go, what is that anchor holding me back?
Well, somebody gave me
What
a great example one time of kind of the framework of, finding help and counseling in general, right? There's three primary categories, and I thought this is really, helpful because people are like, "Hey, I'm working with you, you're a coach. Does that mean I don't need my therapist anymore?" And I'm like, "Not necessarily, because the therapist is kind of what you were saying earlier. They're focused on primarily on the past and unraveling the issues there. A mentor is somebody who is really there to share with you their experiences. So that's kind of where they're at in isolation. Then a coach would be somebody who is focused on moving you forward. They are focused on moving you to action. They can do that through personal experiences, but then they're also going to bring the experiences of other people that they've worked with as well. But one thing that a coach will do is span a little bit of what the therapist does, a little bit of what the mentor does, all for the sake of moving forward. So, just like what you said, coaches, we will go backwards. We will talk about issues that we had in our childhood or whatever the case is.
what's fascinating is so many coaches don't do that. So
The
many
good
coaches
ones,
don't do
the
that.
good ones do. You're right. If you are somebody who is working with a coach and they haven't in any kind of context, I don't care if they're talking about if they're coaching you on your business. If they didn't go back for context in the past, they're missing a huge chunk of a lot of the root problem and probably just treating symptoms.
Yeah, and when you treat symptoms, I mean, I'm sure you've heard this all the time. Is it's just like putting on a band-aid
Yep.
over an ACL tear, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't put a
Pretty
band-aid over
much.
an ACL tear, right?
Nope.
You might hide it for a little bit, but you can definitely not walk on it for a long time, right? You can't run a marathon on it, right? So you have to be able to understand what's going on.
Yeah, because the
And
point that there's something, and this goes to what you're saying. There's something called the 5 why method. This is something that I actually learned when I was in management consulting. And it's this interesting shortcut on how to identify the root cause of a problem. And it works in your personal life and it works in your professional life. And what the 5 why method is you ask why 5 times in a row whenever you're talking about a problem. So if we're sitting here and I'm saying, well, I'm bad with money. Okay, why are you bad with money? Well, I'm bad with money because every time I get a big paycheck, I just want to go buy stuff and I don't save anything. Okay, why do you just go buy stuff and you don't save anything? Well, buying stuff makes me feel good and saving, feels like I'm not getting anywhere with my life. Okay, so why does it do it? And when you do that 5 times, you will get to this place that is 95% chance of being the root cause of the issue. It's really interesting. And it goes a lot with what you're doing. Like you said, you don't necessarily have a list of set questions to ask, but it's just a nice, easy formula to kind of like be curious and dive deep onto an issue. So I love the way that you go about doing that. And, and for anybody out there who really wants to become good with money, it's important to do the dangerous things sometime and go back into your past. And I think it's good to know that just because your parents acted one way doesn't mean that you're going to end up being like, okay, well, my dad was bad with money, so I'm bad with money for the same reasons. A lot of times it can be the opposite. There may be a similar reason, but there may be totally different results. My mom and dad, they used to like keep all this stuff around their house. And they even got a shed in the backyard and it was just crap. I mean, I'll never forget, we were redoing our kitchen one time and we were totally replacing everything in the kitchen. We knocked out all the cabinets and there was this one cabinet that was left. And my mom goes, wait, 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 don't break that one, Steven. I'm like, why? Like all the other ones are literally busted. This is the last one. She's like, well, don't break that one. Why don't you go put that in the shed? And I was like, why? And she just said, I don't know. You just never know. And if you look at me nowadays, get in trouble with my wife sometimes because I will throw things out that she didn't want thrown out because I am quick to get rid of things for the sake of space. And it's like, I have somehow rooted in me a lot of the same issues that my mom had with that, but it expresses itself differently. And a lot of times we can find that with money issues too. So I love
And when I
the.
say you're not bad with money,
Mhm.
uh, I believe the primary the two like most common thoughts that will go through somebody's head when they think of that is either he's talking about the numbers side, so you're not bad with money means you don't have a lot of money, or
Right.
you have more liabilities than assets, right? But that's actually not what I'm focused on. I'm actually focused on the
Okay.
other thing, which is more of like more of the emotional side and contentment, living a life with purpose,
Mm.
living a life with intentionality. That's what I'm focused on, right?
Okay.
So when people say I need a lot of money to be not bad with money, that's not what I'm focused on. It's more of like a level of peace and harmony and just gratitude and satisfaction in life, regardless of what your bank account says. That's the definition of what I'm trying to go after.
Yeah, that's so good. And I get what you're saying. And I think that there's something important that if you are somebody who thinks they are bad with money and you're sitting here going, Dave, Steven, look, I just am bad with money. Like I don't know how to manage it. I don't know how to invest it, different things like that. I think it's important to say exactly what you're saying. Well, I'm not bad with money. First, change your mindset. Like, I know mindset can be chalked up to a cliche a lot of times, but you and I both know that it has to start there. Otherwise, you will become what you say you are. So I love the fact, like, for anybody listening, no matter how much money's in your bank account, if you have been telling yourself this message of I am bad with money, I am bad with investing, I am bad at managing money, I am bad at spending. If whatever that message is, change the money story that you're telling yourself. Change the narrative and say, no, I'm not bad with money. I have some emotional stuff that's going on that I need to work on.
We all
Maybe
do. Yeah, we
we
all
all
do.
do. Oh, totally.
100%.
Maybe you're doing really well in the with how many commas you have in your bank account. Okay. But I will never forget talking to this millionaire. Okay. Net worth was about 12 million. And him saying that he just needed to get it to 25 million, basically 100% more. And I said, why? He said, then I'll feel financially secure. And I'm sitting here going like, what? You know what I mean? It's like it
So
goes.
so that's when you dig into the past, because I had to do that in my own life, right?
Right.
I remember when I graduated from college and I was a second lieutenant in the Air Force, I was making like $60,000 a year.
Hmm.
And I told myself I'm not making enough money. I needed only if I were to make double this, I'd be happy.
Mm.
4 years later, I doubled it. I was not happy. And now, I mean, I stayed in the Air Force. I left the Air Force. And I tripled my income in a year and a half, and I still wasn't happy.
Mm.
So, in that formula of like content, living a life with purpose, having peace, living a life with intentionality, I believe the amount of money you have is not in the formula.
When did you recognize, or was there a moment, or was it a gradual thing when you realized that however much you had in your bank
This
account wasn't going
this
to bring you the satisfaction you were looking for?
this journey, and by the way, I this is this is a this is going to be a lifelong journey. This is not like I figured this out, but I have way more awareness than I did before.
Yeah.
Uh, I can't tell you like a specific event that's like the light bulb just went off. I can't tell you that,
Okay.
but since I graduated from college in 2010 to when I had this like really big awakening, um, that was 2022. That's 12 years, man. I mean, this was like a journey, right?
Okay.
And the story I kicked off my TED Talk in, that was a 2016 event, like right in the
Mm.
middle, right? And so even then, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And it took me 6 years to go, oh, this has nothing to do with the numbers.
Right.
This has everything to do with like the inner peace and joy and contentment that every human being wants,
Hmm.
right? And we
Yeah.
think money is going to give it to us, but money lies to us. It disguises as a promise, right?
Yeah.
It's not a promise. It disguises as one, but it just doesn't give it to you. And
Yeah.
you and I know as Christians, like
Hmm.
we know where the truth the true source comes from, right?
Well, as you were saying that, one of the crazy stats that I love to, pull out a trivia night or, to tell people is that in the Bible, Jesus talks about money more than he talks about heaven and hell combined, which is pretty insane when you think about it. It's like, wow, he talked about money that much more? Yeah, he did. And, the reason for that is one thing I always tell people, I'm like, listen, nobody actually cares about money. Nobody cares about, paper dollars or coins or whatever that is. What we care about is what money can get us. It is just the capability to manifest our desires, essentially. And that's why I don't believe that money changes who you are. I think that if you're a greedy person and you get $1 million, you're going to be greedy with it. I think if you are a generous person and you get $1 million, you'll be generous with it. So, faithful with little, faithful with much. It goes on and on and on, right? It's a
You
pretty good
know,
book for
the
stuff like that.
the reason why Jesus talks about it a lot is because he knows it's a power.
Yes,
It's not
because it puts
powerful.
us in
It's
control to a certain degree of our life, doesn't it?
Yeah, and here's another hot take, and you see it everywhere on LinkedIn: is money is just a tool.
Hmm.
And I've been thinking about this over the years, and I actually do not believe money is just a tool.
Okay.
Um, Most people think that money is like just this like amoral uh,
It's a
medium
hammer.
where
You can break a
you're
window
just
with it. You can build a house with
you're
it.
you're just exchanging value with the cash or whatever, right?
Hmm.
It's not what it is. I mean, yes, it is, but I can't think of an instance where really strong emotions are tied to money. I can't think of an instance where it's actually separated. There's
Okay.
always going to be deep rooted emotions that are tied to it,
Okay.
right? So imagine like buying a car and you're like, I'm going to spend $50,000 on a car. I got the car, I gave the money in exchange. That's it, right?
Mm.
It's not. Why did you buy the car? I bought the car because this is a real life example.
Okay.
Uh, I bought the car because it's nice and it's going to take me from point A to point B. And the next question I asked is, the car that you have right now is the exact same MPG. It's the exact same size, towing capacity, whatever it is, to a different car that's half the value.
Okay.
Would you exchange it for? Would you just swap the car out for that? No. This was not about the car. This was about something else,
Right.
right? Like, if you have a $50,000 car and I'm like, switch it out with a $25,000 Corolla, and you're not willing to do it, I'm not saying you have to, but I'm just saying in your mind you're not willing to do it. There was something else driving your decision behind why you bought that car in the first place.
Okay. Got it.
And if
Trying to
you if you
you got the big truck. You're trying to impress your buddies. You're trying
and if
to
you
get
don't
girls
and
to
if you
check you out. You're trying to There's
and if you don't,
something else behind it.
there's something else behind those dollar bills, which is why
Okay.
I believe that at the practical level, money is a tool. Yes, you're exchanging one for another, right? But uh, but the driver behind why that money is moving from one place to another is always emotional. And here's another
Mm.
hot take. Here's another thing is like
Okay.
you can never solve an emotional problem with a practical solution.
Oof,
It
that's
has
a
to it, ha-
hard truth right there, ladies and gentlemen. Mic drop.
it, it has to
It's
be
true.
it has to be an emotional solution. So like I said earlier, in coaching you have to go a little bit backwards,
Right. And
right?
this is
And
an
depend
important thing in sales, right? We talk about this in sales. I know you work with a lot of
100%.
salespeople with what you do. And this is an important thing. And even if you're somebody and you're like, well, I'm not in sales, we're all selling something, is something I like to say. If you're a single guy, you are trying to sell some single girl out there that out of the other 4 billion men on this planet, you are worthy of her spending time with you, right? We're all selling something. But
Everybody's
specifically
selling
for,
something.
in the
You sold
professional
me.
world,
You sold me trying to get on this podcast.
I know, and it only took me like 3 months to get it done.
I'm a hard.
You're an
I'm a hard.
in-demand man, Mr. Dave Wan.
I'm a hard close man.
I'm telling you,
It's a hard.
I'm probably going to put like a plaque up for getting you on here. So, no, but it's true. But it's like when you sell something, it's almost the exact reverse of what you said. People make logical buying decisions for emotional reasons. So literally what you're saying is the flip side of the coin, because we're just coming at it from the personal perspective. Like, you can't fix a rational problem or an emotional problem with a rational, solution. So I love, it's funny how the business side, all these large corporations, they have recognized that about people. And it's one of the first principles that any sales training will teach you is, listen, yeah, this person might need what you are selling, but you've got to connect on an emotional level before they're ever going to make a logical decision about it. So I think that's an incredibly
That's
important point.
that's really important. So many people talk about the emotional side, the human connection, the show up authentic, make sure the human connection, the human relationship has to be there.
Mm,
Otherwise, that exchange is going to be transactional, and nobody likes transactions, right?
right.
So if you want to have deep value, you want to be able to make a lot of money, and you want to sell like life changing services and products. It can't be a transaction. Like, it has to be relational, right? And there's a lot of different companies out there selling a lot of different things, right? And the only way you're going to stick out is that authentic human relationship. And
That's
but,
it.
but I'll take it one step further. And people say that. People say that in sales training. Sales trainers say that. Sales coaches say that. And I'll take it one step further. So much of our relationship with money is highly emotional, and it's also highly subconscious,
Mm,
right? Meaning
yep.
you don't even know it's happening,
Yeah.
right? So when you tell people the authenticity and the human connection is really important, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah.
I preach on that too. But whenever money's on the line, which is every sales opportunity, people could act very irrationally, and a lot of their actions are driven primarily by their emotions. Which
Mm,
um, uh, I heard a saying like, if you're letting emotions run the course, you're actually in the back seat of a car and you're letting emotion take that front seat, that driver.
mm, yeah,
You're in the back seat. You have no control.
right.
It's like being in a Waymo and the car is just going in circles and you can't stop it from going in circles,
Yeah,
right? Right. And so even though the human authentic connection, like, that is very, very important, I believe that since money is on the line and money is involved in every sales opportunity, you know that, right?
yep.
If I don't get this opportunity, or if I don't talk to that person, I'm going to lose $1 million. Like, money is on the line every single time,
It is. It is.
and
And
because
and
and because it's on the line, these emotions with money, your feelings and beliefs around money, will actually spill over and actually drive that show,
yeah.
and
And
you
this
don't
is
even know it's
why I
happening,
tell
and you
salespeople,
don't even
don't
know it's
worry.
happening.
Right. And this is why I tell salespeople, don't freak out about AI too much. Okay. Because guess what? Yes, people will always buy, certain things we see with ads, marketing that's primarily done through cell phones, robots, ads, different things like that. But it's like when it comes to like serious purchases, people are always going to want to buy from people. It's just as simple as that because they need that emotional connection. So, it's, I know we freak out a lot about the AI taking over, but it'll change things. But people will still be needed. I truly believe that. And to your point about authenticity, both on as a consumer and as a business owner, I truly believe that it's going to be an incredible time period to where people are going to be leaning more into, maybe not everybody, but I think people are going to be leaning more into who is being authentic, who is the one who's really out here just looking out for me, in my interests or whatever. I think people more and more are going to see that as a competitive advantage, even though it might not scale as something as great as creating an AI digital twin. Right.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for people to be authentic, like I was saying.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
people struggle. People struggle with it because their deep underlying emotions, feelings, and beliefs around money actually drive that show. So let me give you a quick story.
Okay.
I share this story quite a bit, but hopefully it'll make sense. So the company I used to work for, they were jacking up their prices like crazy, insane, like over 2x what the next competitor is, and they're number one in the market,
Oof. Okay.
over 2x, right? And so, you know, I don't know if you felt this way, but like as a seller, like that didn't sit well with me because it's another hurdle I have to overcome, right?
Yeah.
And so that year, I had more closed lost opportunities than I would have liked.
Okay.
So it was really easy for me to blame the price increases for why that happened. But what ended up really happening, looking back, was I let my own definition of expensive be the client's definition of expensive, and,
Mm.
and I
Yep.
and I let my own sensitivity around price be the client's sensitivity around price.
Interesting.
So my body language. So I never say these words, but my body language, my tone, my choice of words, and the energy that I brought to the table screamed, "Steven, I wouldn't buy this, would you?" Right? There was like a lot of hesitancy around it,
Right.
even right. And so people are like, be authentic, focus on value, and I get all that, but you cannot force somebody with a practical solution when the problem is emotional.
Right.
So you have to be able to understand why people are. And by the way, this is the feeling inside all the stuff that I'm saying. The managers will never know.
Mm.
Only the sales reps know. Sales
Yeah.
reps know, right?
Yeah,
And so
you have to believe that not you don't just have to to be an effective salesperson. You can't just believe in what it is you're selling. You have to believe that the value's there at the right price for the client too. Otherwise, exactly what you said is going to happen, and that's going to bleed through.
so when there's like things that salespeople do that are like, I'm discounting right off the bat before the client even asks for it.
Mm,
I'm gonna avoid telling the client about this $1 million opportunity or $1 million service. I'm only going to let them know about the $50,000 one. I fumble every time I get to the goal line, and I over justify my pricing. I hesitate to pursue larger opportunities. I take rejection personally.
Mm,
I I might feel intimidated by wealthier clients, especially like financial advisors. Maybe I'm directing clients towards smaller needs instead of larger needs.
mm,
So I'm letting my focus, attention, and care and energy on in the conversation be about me and not the client.
mm,
And all the training, all the advice out there will say, well, if I were to break all that down in like 5 different steps, they're only talking about the fifth step. Focus on
mm.
value, focus on the client, be authentic. But like, why are people still having these symptoms? And what are the, handful of steps that are preceding it? And why is that happening? That's where I come in, right?
Okay.
And and just because like I've learned it in my own journey that so much of our beliefs and feelings around money spill over into our sales conversations, and salespeople don't even know it's happening, and it's causing them to not be as authentic as they want to be.
Well, it puts people into a limited or scarcity mindset. And if you are operating primarily, because I think a huge misconception is people are like, oh, I'm a growth minded person, type thing. It's like, okay, maybe in most things, but even in my own life, I'm a very growth minded person when it comes to money and business and all these other things. But I love to tell the story of when when I was coming up for the TED Talk. I think I've told you this. I almost dropped out after I got accepted, which is a huge deal to get accepted. It's like less than 1% of people get accepted for a TED Talk. And I almost dropped out because of one reason. They told me that I would have to memorize my speech. And I was like, dude, I can't memorize things because all my life I have told myself I have a brain for conceptualization, not for memorization. So when I got on the first call with the guy and he said, what, the coach, and he said, what is the method that you have to memorize a 15-minute speech? I'm like, dude, I haven't memorized anything since college. What are you talking about? And he said that. I said, whatever you're about to give me, because I don't have one. I don't even know if I could do this. And guess what? He gave me a method. And guess what? I got it done in like 2 weeks, 15-minute speech, longest thing I've ever memorized in my life. I was operating
I
with a
need your secret
limited
in
mindset.
2 weeks.
What was
Mine
it?
took three. I need your secrets, man, because 2 weeks is insane. Mine took
I, it,
5. Mine took 3 months.
it, it,
But
it's a, it, it was brutal. It was brutal. It was just writing it down line by line. You do 2, 3 lines, you recite it, you write 2, 3 more, you go back, you recite all, like it was crazy. It was just brute force into my brain. But the thing that was so crazy about it was I recognized the fact that I had been operating with a limited mindset in that aspect of my life. And it impacted me in so many things, and it almost cost me one of the greatest opportunities that I've had since becoming an entrepreneur, which was to be a TED Talk speaker. And you know but if you would have asked me about money or anything else, super growth minded. So for people out there that are like, well, I'm a growth minded person, I don't struggle with a scarcity or limited mindset, don't fool yourself. You do. It just may not be in the thing that you think of. And that's why it's so important that we have people in our lives, whether it's a coach, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a really good friend who will call you out on your BS or siblings. It's important that we have that and that we're open to that criticism, because we all have growth and scarcity mindsets in our life, but we can't sell properly. We can't manage our money properly. We can't do anything if we're doing it from a place of fear. And that kind of brings us full circle back to fear naming, getting out there, saying what it is you're afraid of. I believe in the power of saying it out loud. I actually think that there's something that when you go, okay, I am afraid that if this deal falls through, my boss is going to fire me and I'm going to lose my job, and I'm going to be, I don't know how I'm going to tell my wife that, and I'm going to be scared that we're not going to make our payments. Okay, now I have said that out loud. Now talk back to it and say, okay, well, yeah, that's pretty much the worst case scenario if I don't get this deal. It also might not even happen at all. But if it did, I would go apply for another job. And you know what? If it did, I probably should over the next couple months, if this deal doesn't come in, be putting away some cash just in case. Let's bump up that saving. Start taking action and doing things like that, and then all of a sudden you switch from scarce to a growth mindset. So, what have you
and and
done?
and
What have
and, and that's and those steps is not an overnight thing. You know
No,
that.
it's not.
And this
Well,
is
actually,
taking
I take
one.
that back. I take that back. It can be. It can be. Like, I'm not saying that you make the full switch from scarcity to growth overnight, but you can choose to take action that's rooted in a growth mindset instantaneously.
I know, but when it comes to money, like some of these things are so deeply ingrained in us. You know this, like people.
No,
This
I
is like a
agree with you,
very.
but that's
This is
how,
a very.
going back to your cruise ship mentality that's anchored with the boat, that's how you turn a big boat. There's no quick U-turn of that thing. Like, you got to do it slowly, and that slowly is what I'm saying. Like, you change a
Because the
scarcity
rudder.
mindset with tiny, small daily actions that are rooted in a growth mindset.
And so once you're able to identify the anchor and you are able to yank it out and put it back on the ship, the rudder is what guides the ship in the direction you want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
The rudder is tiny compared to the size of the ship.
Yeah,
Tiny, right? And as soon as you move the rudder in one direction, 1 degree left or right, like the I got to look at the stat. I got to look at the math on this, but like the ship will move way more, right? And
yeah,
so like you just need to make tiny movements, and that ship will move in the direction you want it to go.
yeah. Totally agree. We're
I just
right
thought of
there.
that right. I just thought of this right now as I'm talking to you. But for me, the scarcity is not a. I, I'm a firm believer that positive thoughts will not change scarcity, right? Because people can instantaneously feel a certain way, but they're going to go back to their default, right?
True, which
And
is
so
why
you
I
have
believe
to,
it has to be positive action, not thought.
yes, so you have to do positive action and thought, but you also have to know some of the things that are holding you back and understanding
Mm-hmm.
it and naming it to be able to identify what that anchor is and then releasing it,
I agree.
right?
Yeah.
But it's daily steps over time. When people know that they need to not spend more than they make, but people constantly make that mistake. It's why the long time ago when I first started this journey, it was on the personal finance side. I was helping people get out of debt, and it was really ironic that the people that I was helping get out of debt were Dave Ramsey grads that came to me
Mm-hmm.
for help. It's like, hold on, if what he did actually works, how come you got back into debt again? That's the
Right.
first question that I had. That's the first question that I had for them.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Right. And by the way, naming things, some people are not really open to it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had a coaching call a couple weeks ago, and I believe that one new perspective can change somebody's life. One new
Oh, I totally
perspective.
agree.
It's all it takes.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at an exponential curve, the majority of that curve mirrors what a linear line would look like.
Mm-hmm.
But all it takes is one little change, and then you could see the trajectory completely change, and the results of your personal life, the organization, your business, your sales results completely change as a result of one shift in perspective.
Yeah.
And I believe that one shift in perspective is going to be rooted in your underlying beliefs and feelings around money, because literally everything we do in life, there's so much of it is attached to money,
Yeah.
right? Your job's on the line. You're about to get another job. Your opportunities are on the line. You could lose an opportunity. So much is on the line, which is why when families are fighting over estates, people go insane.
Oh my gosh, it's the worst. It really
Insane
is.
because
Yep.
money is on the line, right? And you see all these underlying. I've seen I've seen massive arguments and fights happen when it comes to inheritance and estate fallouts, and everybody's fighting over the dollars and like trying to make everything right numbers wise. And I get that aspect, which is important, but that's not what's driving the fight.
Right.
That is not what's driving the fight.
Never driving the fight.
So I just
Yeah,
spoke a lot, but yeah,
my mom went through this, when her dad died, with her siblings, and it so much of they had a great relationship, like all three of the siblings, great relationships, and it's not like the family's broken up because of it, but there were some really huge knockout, you know, swings made during this process where before everything was fine. And the hilarious thing about it all is that one of them that was fighting the hardest about stuff is a multimillionaire. like like the
yeah.
amount of money that she was fighting over, it's like this isn't even a drop in the bucket to you guys. Like it doesn't even make sense why you're so upset about this. And it just goes to show you it's like, man, this just isn't about the dollars and cents. It's not. So
Let me give you a quick story.
yeah.
So my father-in-law and had four sisters, and there's like $6 million on the line, and the majority of that should have gone to him because he's the only farmer. The other sisters are not farmers, and that's a story for another day. But that's not my decision to figure out who gets what, right? But the father that passed away decided that the land is going to be split up equally 5 ways. And since my father-in-law is the only farmer in the family and the other sisters are not, he ended up buying all of them out. But there was a massive fight between all of them. A couple years later, a massive fight. A couple years later, one of them reached out to him and said, "I'm so sorry what happened.
Mm,
I would like to work on this relationship. I feel like I lost a brother, all that stuff, right?" My mother-in-law said, "Dave, I can't believe she reached out to us. Of course she reached out to us because she now has her $1 million and she must be happy." And I said, "That's not why she reached out to you." She's like, "Okay, so why did she reach out to us?" And I said, "The reason why she reached out to you is because what she thought the money would do for her actually didn't do its thing." So
yep.
even the guy with the $1 million, or the multimillionaire, 500,000 bucks on the line, $5 million on the line, whatever the number is, he was thinking whatever what he thought the money was going to do for him actually didn't do its thing.
Right.
Meaning it was going to make him feel more secure. It was going to make him feel like he potentially had more authority and power over his siblings
Hmm.
that he never had when he was younger. This was his opportunity potentially to get back at them.
Right.
Whatever the emotions were, whatever the stories are, it's all nonsense, right?
Hmm.
But that's what they're holding on to, thinking that money is going to give them that reality when it's actually not, right? And so crazy.
It's good, man. I'm in the middle of starting a business with one of my brothers, and we have a great relationship. And one of the most important things to both of us is that we have a lawyer that is cooking up a legal document that is so black and white. There's that anything we can think of and anything the lawyer can think of because they got more experience with this stuff of if things go south, we want it taken out of our hands as much as possible about like there will be a buyout clause involved. If one of us dies, there will be a buyout clause for the spouse, the surviving spouse. Like all of these things we're trying to get in there because we know that we're not above that. We don't want anything to happen. We value, our friendship that we have, our family. We don't want it to impact, like put my parents in an awkward situation if we're not talking, anything like that. It's like there's so much more that is so much more valuable than just if we were to end up fighting over this money. So we're like, let's just remove all temptation out of that. Let's make this ironclad. And then if one of us needs a buyout, one of us needs this, one of us dies, one of us, doesn't like something the other one's doing, whatever the case is, it's all defined legally in black and white, and we can just point to the
Mm-hmm.
document and say, "This is what we agreed on." Done, like
Mm-hmm.
that. So, I'm with you, man. It's so important. I know we're coming up on time here, and this has just been so good. I want to give you the last word. If for anybody listening, you know, going back to the original theme of "You're Not Bad with Money," what's one thing that you would just want to ring true to people if you had the opportunity to stand on a mountain and just scream it from the top?
I I just believe that our relationship with money is so important, and I just encourage people to lean into it, um, understand it, understand why you feel and believe the way you do with your money, because you'll see it play out and it'll spill over into your work. It'll spill over into your money. It'll spill over into your marriage. It'll spill over into your relationships with other people, right?
Hmm.
And so I believe that is a common denominator across the board. And if you want to be able to live a life filled with contentment, purpose, peace, and intentionality, got to lean into it. Got to lean into it because it will. You'll if it's impacting one area in life, it will impact you in other areas of life as well. So that's my parting word, and I just encourage people to lean into it.
I love it, man. This is about one of the mottos that we have around at Life Builder is that this is about life first, money second. And I didn't mean it in the context of, how you kind of come about it, but it fits the narrative just perfectly and, just continues to reinforce the fact that, yeah, that's what this is ultimately all about. So thank you, my friend, for coming on. It's been absolute blast having you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.